Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Becoming Unshakable podcast with me as your host. Today, I'm going to do a solo show. I did promise that I would kind of insert some of these question and answer shows for people who want to send in any questions specifically for me, and then I can answer them here live on the air. And so, this episode is going to be dedicated to that. When you're at the Becoming Unshakable podcast, it really is about figuring out what you could do to be more grounded in your own shoes irrespective of what's happening in the world around you or the expectations in your home or the expectations at work. What do you do to solve for that? What do you do to become unshakable to stay there? Now, here's the thing: becoming unshakable does not mean you're never shaken. It just means that you remain calm when the rest of the world is a little bit off its rockers. And sometimes that means that you have to do things that center you, that ground you, so you can show up as your best self for those who really are looking to you every day. Here's the thing: whether you have a manager title or not, people are always watching and they're looking for inspirational leaders. They're looking for people who have the type of grounding, the type of care and compassion, just the type of being that invites people into the circle, that it elevates and uplifts other people and isn't just centered on, oh gosh, the world is ending and what's going to happen. So, are you going to be that leader who's focusing on becoming unshakable in the process? Now, I had 3 questions that came in based upon my initial request, and so how do you do that? You just send, questions to me at heather@heatheryounger.com, and I'll answer them live on the show, and I'm committing to do this once every couple months to make sure that if there's anything that I don't know that you need from me, that I can answer that for you. Here's the thing: I am a podcast host, but I have no clue who's listening. I can't see you, right? And it's not live where you're interacting with me, so please do send in your voice. Give me your feedback. Let me know if there's recommendations of guests you'd like to have and any questions you have. That's what happened this time. And I received 3 of you all who are listening now were sent in some questions and requests for me. So here I go. So the first question that came in was, what do you do when, for example, you are a manager who wants to show more care for people, but the people above are putting pressure or restrictions on you? Maybe there's something related to your budget, something like that that's going on that you feel limits you to be able to do more for your team or to show up with more care and compassion for your colleagues. And here's how I'm going to respond to that. I am not Pollyanna. I completely understand that this is the world that we're living in, that there's, folks that are around us that don't necessarily embody or care to embody this caring concept, this how do we become strong and compassionate concept. And that's okay because you can't change everyone. But what you can do is you can commit to leaning into you, uh, trying to be a little bit more influential to those who are above you or around you, mostly by how you show up. So I set the example by how I show up, and I control what I can control inside my sphere versus always worrying about what I can or can't do outside my sphere of control. Oftentimes, I think people don't realize they have more power than they think. And so, in the little circle that you have, maybe you're a project lead, maybe you're a team lead, maybe you're a manager, director, maybe it's you and just your colleagues, but you have certain things that you control within your sphere. Commit to being, for your customers, for your clients, for the people that look to you, that source of grounding, that source of compassion, and lean into that and your control that you have there instead of worrying so much about what maybe other people are not doing for you or are not doing for the organization. Believe me, I get it. I'm in surveys all the time. I'm in listening sessions all the time. So I hear what it is that are the gaps that leaders maybe leave for their organizations and their teams, for those who are looking to them for guidance and for approvals and all those things. They exist. I would say secondarily on that particular topic, try to figure out, maybe do some discs training or some kind of communication behavioral training to understand what the styles are, that the people who are that you're looking to for guidance, those that are above you that might have the ability to have more influence or control over a situation. What are their styles? What do they need to feel seen and heard by you? What do they need to be more receptive to the thing you're trying to get approval for? Because oftentimes what happens is we speak to people in styles that's basically serve our needs more than their needs. So if you can get to the point where you understand what they need more, maybe even what are they tracking on their success dashboard, and how what it is that you want to get approved connects to their dashboard. And when you do that, you speak in their language. Now you get their attention. Now you have more influence and potentially can have some more changes take place because now you've expanded your sphere of control, or at least the influence you have. So that's how I would respond to that first question. The second question is, what happens when you show care, but the people still aren't clear on the expectations? So you feel like, in your own skin, that you're the person who is uplifting people, that you're listening more, that you're trying to be inclusive around your decision making table, that you're trying to be that better human inside the workplace. But then you can see that people around you are still not clear on expectations, that they are falling short on meeting the performance that's expected. Here's what I'm going to say to that. Are you sure you're setting expectations clearly enough? And are you holding people accountable on the tail end of those expectations? So, embedded in this idea of becoming unshakable is I am a person who's strong and clear about who I am. I care for me. I lead me. I'm grounded. I do things to center me. And at the same time, I demonstrate that or I show that to people externally by the care and attention I give them, by the clarity that I give them, by the groundedness that I also provide them because I allow them places for them to pour into themselves, to give themselves more care and time and consideration. So if I am that person up front, and I'm pouring into other myself and to the other people, if I am committing to uplift them and to grow them, then I'm also someone who sits down with them when I see them going off course. And I say, like, I want to make sure that we get back together and that we come back to the center about what it is our goals are for our team. And here's one of the things that we talked about, let's say 2 weeks ago. And I noticed that that is not happening, that you're focusing more over here than over here. And based upon the initiatives of our team, our division, our organization, we really need to refocus here. And so, what can you and I do to make sure we recenter on these areas that really are more aligned with the initiatives that we have right now? Okay, so you have that conversation with them. Okay, so what we decided is A, B, C on in the next 2 weeks. And then after that, we can focus on D, E, F, right? So be very specific, very clear, coming from a place of mutual consent and also mutual dependence to get things done, to achieve the objectives in front of you. So being clear about your expectations. And then after you have that second conversation, let's say they're still not going along with what it is that you've just discussed in the A, B, C, and the D, E, F, right? Then you need to make sure that you say, okay, well, this hasn't happened and this hasn't happened. So it looks to me that that either we need to be realigned. I need to figure out what it is that um, what's making you distracted right now, and then at the same time, do I need to continue to help you in a more uh, consistent way weekly? So should we be talking about this every other day? Should we be talking about this weekly to make that you stay on track? Or do I also need to bring somebody else into this project to make sure we stay on track to get this online? Because in the end, I'm responsible and accountable to my director, to my VP, to the CEO for these objectives. So we have to make sure we meet those. And if we don't, I either have to bring someone else in, I have to shift where you are in your role, I have to meet with you more consistently to make sure you stay on track. So you have to get this unshakable leadership has an edge to it because in order to be this person, yes, you have to show care and concern and compassion, but you also have to make sure that you hold true to your own expectations that you've set for yourself and to other people. So that means setting clear expectations. It does mean holding people accountable. It's all part of this process. So I don't want, this is the reason why I made this shift because I wanted to make sure you understood that people that lead with heart, people that are caring and compassionate people can also be the people who set the line, who make sure that things are clear, who hold people accountable and hold themselves accountable. You have to have the yes and concept that's involved in this. Yes, you want to do this, and we need to have this. And if you do it from a place that's centered on other too, so that they know that you're in it to help them grow, in it to help them be successful, they're going to be more bought in to what it is you're asking them for. Okay, and then this third and final question that was asked. What happens when the job is so busy, the calendar gets so full that all I have time for is managing expectations of others and managing their needs, but I really don't have time for my own needs? I'm going to be honest, I was there. I remember hitting a wall I hit a wall at the end of 2023. And I realized that the life that I wanted, which was full of engagements and full of all these things in my calendar, while I was by other people's objective standard of success, I did not feel successful at the end of the year. Sure, revenues were higher. Sure, I got all the things that I thought I wanted, but in the end, I didn't get it. And I realized that I needed to be refocusing on what my values were. What did I value most? What at least did I say I valued? And how did that actually show up in the real world for me? Like, did it feel like I was expressing that value in my everyday actions? And the answer ended up being no. And that's when I hit the wall and I said, okay, what are the things, what do you really value? And for me, personally and professionally, my family was valuable. Having some time where I really was grounded, like I was sitting, not in a plane, where I could actually take time to plan and parse out my day and determine how I wanted my life to lay out professionally and personally. When I made those decisions around, I came to those epiphanies at the end of that very successful year. I realized I needed to insert more times for me to have some more centeredness and peace and calm. I couldn't sit around waiting for someone else to deliver this centeredness, peace, and calm to me. I need to take it upon myself to do that for myself. So when the day feels busy and everything feels crowded and you feel like you're overwhelmed and everybody else's needs is taking over yours, what I'm going to tell you to do is to make sure that you intentionally insert times on your day that are non-negotiable, that are blocked out. It could be 10-minute, 15-minute, 2, 3 times a day, where you're taking some deep breathing or where you're taking time to plan with no phone calls or interruptions, no looking at your emails, no Slack messages, where you might go out and just get out and sit in the sunshine. I do that sometimes where I sit in the sunshine for 5 minutes and I come right back in and go to my next call. Whatever it is that you need to do to take the time to breathe, to give the insertion points to make you a priority. You have to be the priority. In fact, if you think you're doing a service to others by running yourself down and running yourself rampant with no insertion points for you, you're going to start to see that people are going to notice that you're that kind of person, running from meeting to meeting, never having a time to rest or breathe, never taking time for yourself. And then guess what? You don't give permission for anybody else around you to do the same thing. To become an unshakable leader means that you insert those times for you, that you make sure that you're grounding and calming you first, so that when you show up for other people, you don't seem out of whack. You don't seem frazzled, frizzled, all the things that we think of when we think of that leader who's a little out of control. In this world, when everything seems a little bit off its rockers, you can be the sense of calm in the storm for those who need you to be on that day to day basis. But first and foremost, the calm for yourself. So I invite you to think of the ways that you can show up in these ways that I've described today with more care and compassion and with more clear expectations and accountability, with pouring into others and first pouring into you and being that calm in the storm for yourself so that you can breathe, so that you can show up for that calm and groundedness for others and from that place of care and compassion as well. Hopefully you enjoy this episode. Please do, again, heather@heatheryoungmer.com. Just send me any other questions or concerns you might have, anything that you want me to talk about on this show. I'm open and I'm listening. And cheers to you becoming unshakable in the process. Take care.